What's the most effective way to handle pain? Of course, I realize the ultimate maturity of an individual would be such that he wouldn't have pain, but let's say that we're in the stage where we have to.
The best way you possibly can. You can take it, if I take it from the bottom up, if the only way you can do it through, if the only means you want to do it through is the material, it's aspirin and drugs. If you're able to handle it mentally, you can offset it in many ways. One simple way is to feel it.
I don't know, my wife had mentioned you had said that, and I had delved into it, and it was something I didn't really understand.
Well, this goes into what is pain. Pain is an alarm in a certain part of the body that there's a danger there, and if we mentally recognize the alarm, the pain, it turns off. But because of a long time habit of trying to run away from pain, we mentally try to flee from the pain, to get away from it. And the alarm stays on and the pain stays on. You watch animals, they don't suffer the way we do. If something hurts them, they'll feel it and the pain goes. We can do the very same thing. Another way of putting it might be like face the pain.
Or a form of realization.
No, this has nothing to do with realization. This is a very down-to-earth, practical method of...
I mean, you're realizing pain.
You're making it real?
Yeah.
You're making it more real when you're trying to run away from it.
Well,
it's like a big bear chasing you when you're trying to run from it. And most of us don't see this point, that when we have pain, we're always trying to get away from it. We don't want to recognize it, and therefore the alarm stays on. Now, it's difficult for most people to face the pain because by habit they're used to running away from it mentally. So I suggest to them that they make it hurt more. If I had a pain in my finger, if I wanted to make it hurt more, I really couldn't. But what I'd do is I would go into it and feel it. And the moment you feel it, it disappears. Just try it. Now that's a very simple, practical way to alleviate pain. Coming up higher, be not the body. If you're capable of doing that, saying, I am not the body, what was a severe pain becomes a very dull pain in a distance way down there in that body. And you can function as though there's no pain there. It doesn't bother you anymore. You let the body go its way, so to speak. So by being not the body, you step away from pain. If you can be not the body, you can let a doctor operate on your body and you wouldn't feel it. That's to the extreme. Higher way is to see only the perfection. Where there's perfection, there is no pain. There just isn't any. So there's various levels at which we can approach pain. But try that feel the pain method. You'll see it's a simple, easy way once you catch on to it. And then if there's a damaged part of the body, it heals very quickly, the same day, overnight, or very rapidly, just by feeling the pain. Because when you feel the pain, you're recognizing the alarm, and the body mechanics go to that point and start immediately repairing it. If you had pain now, I could show you, I think. Do you have pain? What hurts? Can you show me just what part of the head? Okay, well, feel it. Can you feel it?
Yeah.
All right, now make it hurt more. Does it hurt more?
No.
What's happened? Is it still there? It's lighter? Make it hurt more. How is it now? Not the same. You're taking the most difficult spot. The headache is the hardest thing to localize, but it'll work on a headache. To try it out, it's easier on a very painful part of the body, a finger or some limb. Try it out, and when you can apply it there, it'll be easier for you to apply it to the head. And also, when you're by yourself, it's it's easier to do it than when you're in company of a lot of people. But I'll guarantee you that if you feel the pain, it'll go away. The more
You're really recognizing the alarm that's set up there. And, permitting it to go to work, is that what you're saying?
you permit the body mechanics to go to work to undo it.
Is there any way anyone else can help?
A doctor could give you...
Yes, but I mean, as far as someone who is not going to the doctor, say another member of the family or someone else, would it be just knowing and saying,
Sure,
sympathy?
It's giving you something that'll take your mind off the pain. Right now, if something very important in his life happened right now, more important than the headache, he'd forget about it entirely for the moment and he wouldn't have it. So if someone in the family comes and pulls you away from it or does something like that, you can forget it. The moment you forget it, it's gone. You forget it by putting your mind onto the new thing that's coming into your mind.
Well, in the case, and I'll say in her case, he has a headache. She knows it. And aside from doing that, would she just think of him being perfect?
The way we help another one is to know their perfection. And to the degree we know that they're perfect, to that degree we support them in the right direction. Yet they must take it. We can only support them.
So if they don't go along, then actually they're putting up a barrier.
If they don't go along, that's their God-given free will.
Just the pain is in the mind, that's strictly in the mind.
Yes. The only place we feel pain is in the mind. We think we feel it in the body, but we don't. The body doesn't feel anything. The body's inert. The body's just matter. The pain we feel is in our mind. It's all mental.
How could you get a child to see this?
That's very difficult. And yet it isn't. You'd be surprised how children can accept these ideas much more easily than we grown-ups can, because they haven't been so thoroughly indoctrinated in the wrong direction as we have been. The younger we are, the more easily we accept these ideas. So the way you do it is by teaching it to them, treating them as an equal and talking to them as though they can understand this. You'd be surprised how they'll pick it up.
Well, actually, many mothers are doing this in diverting children. As soon as they have they run and they bump themselves or something, why they immediately, it just seems automatic to divert them, to get them thinking of something else or doing something else, and they forget about the bump.
You can see it in children sometimes. They get a terrible knock, and when they're with their playmates, they're ready to cry, and they look, and then they forget about it, and they go off playing. Whereas if the mother's around, sometimes you get a much different reaction.
Yeah, nobody's interested.
So you see how children can have pain one moment and let go of it the next moment.
Would you class pain and a rash all over the body as the same?
No. Rashes are not necessarily painful. A rash over the body is due to a mental irritation that is superficial, and it comes out on the skin. Mental irritations that are deep come out on the inner organs.
So you wouldn't worry about it as much on the skin as if it were on the organs.
Right, because the organs are much more vital than the skin. It's just an irritation. It's a conflict between something unconscious and something conscious. And because half of it is unconscious, we can't see it, and that conflict goes on. It's very annoying, irritating. And if we hold it, it'll come out in a rash on the skin. This is why doctors can't do anything about it. The best of skin specialists will tell you this. They try this salve and they try that salve, and sooner or later something seems to work. And generally it's time that does it.
But in beginning something like this, as far as the healing of oneself, does affirmation actually help in?
Yes, affirmation is good because you're putting in a thought that will demonstrate the positive. And the more you affirm, the more you'll accept it. The more you'll help undo the opposite. If it's hard to affirm, it's even good to start with a denial. Deny what it is, then affirm what you want.
Ugh, I don't want that. I do want that.
So, just ugh and ooh.
Oh, it'll make me remember it very much.
But who said the subconscious mind does not recognize the word not?
No, the mind. See, the mind thinks only in pictures. It doesn't think in words like not. Whatever picture you hold in mind, you create. If I don't want bananas, I'm holding bananas in mind and I'll get it.
And how does the denial work?
to help you better affirm. I am not the body. I am the infinite self. Because people are steeped in the negativity, and it's so real to them, by denying it, it gives them an added push toward the affirmative. But it should always be followed up by the affirmative. Only denying would be holding on to it. This is why fear is such a bad thing. We hold in mind that which we fear, and thereby create it. Whatever you fear, you'll bring upon yourself. Because the mind's only creative. What we hold in mind, we create. And the mind thinks in pictures. People think it thinks in words. But whenever you say house, you don't see H-O-U-S-E. You have a picture of a house. Or a man. It's a picture of a man. It's not the letters M-A-N. And this is why why people are able to talk telepathically to people who don't speak their own language. If we could speak telepathically and you knew only Greek and I knew only English, you would talk to me in Greek and I'd be picking up all your pictures. I would talk to you in English and you would pick up all my pictures. And we could converse that way. It is simple. It's simple and everyone uses it, but because we have talked ourselves out of the idea that we can talk telepathically, we think we can't. But we do read each other. Unconsciously, we're always reading each other. It's a natural ability. All beings have it. All animals have it. They use it much more than we do. Animal knows your thinking and your feeling. Babies know it. Only educated adults don't. You're educated out of it. But that is the absolute truth, that we are infinite beings. And when we see the infinity within ourselves, we see that everyone is me. There's no more separation. But until you see it, it doesn't make sense. And yet, anyone here could get glimpses of it. By getting the mind quiet enough, you'll see it. And you'll see that you are me.
These, you say glimpses. Usually that's all they are, isn't it? It's glimpses.
Not all.
Well, I mean, with most of us.
It starts off with that way. And as we stick to the path, these glimpses get longer and longer until they become fully established all the time. And that's the ultimate goal. Never forgetting God, never forgetting who we are.
Is it sometimes that we only get glimpses because we're afraid to go any further than the glimpse?
No. Because the ego takes over again. There's still a lot of ego left. And then the moment we express as an ego, we have to let go of what we saw in order to be an ego, to be a limited being. So the moment we choose again to be a limited being, we don't see the limitless being that we are. Yet you haven't lost anything. Because to get the glimpse in the first place, you had to let go of quite a lot of ego.
seems like whenever I've gotten a glimpse, it's been in a state of not being unconscious, but not being asleep, not being exactly conscious either, some state in between. And then as soon as I've reached this conscious state, then it disappears.
Yeah, this conscious state is a state of ignorance.
You know?
And there's a state between sleep and waking where as we come out of the sleep state and before we identify with the waking world, we're with the real self that we are. If you could stay there, you would be the God that you are.
Well, before I ever realized what was going on, I had a few of those glimpses, but I never knew what they were. But there was complete joy.
You can use them.
Pardon?
You can use them to establish it more and more. You're not thinking in that state. If you'll take a look at it, you're not thinking.
Just a complete quietness where there's no thinking at all.
You're just being. And it is in beingness that we are God. And we can only be God. Before that happens, we say we have to get to know God. When we get to know God, we discover that we are God. And that it was our pure, simple, unadulterated beingness. Not being a body, but just being. It's just pure beingness.
You're almost not aware of your body.
Right. You're not aware of your limitations.
Of which recognizing your body is
An extreme
a
limitation.
limitation.
It's an extreme limitation.
One more question. How much of the unconscious mind should one
Follow?
Yeah,
None.
none.
Everything should be conscious. The unconscious mind is the automaton that we are. Someone says blue, we move this way. Red, we move that way. Or says a word we don't like, we feel bad. Says a word we like, we feel good. That's all the unconscious operating in. We're like puppets when we follow the unconscious.
Those are habit patterns?
Yes, all habit patterns are the unconscious mind. No one can be fully happy until he or she realizes that there are no limitations. That this body is no limitation.